Despite a colder, critical reception to which the promotion is accustomed to of late, AEW in the mud, you love to see it, AEW remains a harmonious enough promotion from the outside looking in. But publicly, discontent has only been expressed by the lower rung performers, some of which have previous in the art of, and I believe this is the technical term, shit disturbing. They were outliers, weren't they? I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture. These are 10 major AEW stars who publicly savaged the company. Number 10, FTR. AEW has missed something with its ranking system. Maths are fun. Permutations are fun. The thrill of the G1 climax at its peak, beyond the daily blasts of world-class action, was in tracing a path to the final and determining who would have to win and how often to reach it. Wins and losses mean something in AEW, at least sometimes. There's always been a loose and inconsistent quality, a bit like your mom, to the rankings, which have never been sufficiently explained, and sometimes they're just disregarded entirely. FTR, for example, missed out on the recent three-way tag title ladder match despite being ranked at the top. Maybe they should have just hovered outside the Young Bucks' hotel room and put their case forward to matchmaker Christian Cage. Dax Harwood, making this SmackDown 2004 level booking very plain, simply tweeted lol in response to the Road Rager match when it was announced. Number 9, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho prides himself on having his finger on the pulse of pro wrestling. And he's right, even if it sometimes takes him a few months to cop his ear to the crowd. People were prepared to write him off last year. When will they bloody learn, eh? As the Wizard, he's back to another unique version of his best self, the incorrigible, catchphrase-friendly jackass. Jericho was also the first man to articulate AEW's first period of malaise deep into 2019. Guesting on Conan's Keeping It 100 podcast, which is one of the best podcasts out there that isn't ours, What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from. Guesting on that in December, anyway, he recalled how, as a locker room leader, he took the initiative of calling a meeting to resolve growing complaints surrounding the tag team division. Jericho, concerned about the fate of the company he'd put on his back, warned that the honeymoon period was over. Certainly was. Number 8, The Elite. All Out 2020 was everything the miraculous Double or Nothing wasn't. Very little was great. The main event was a killer stylistic battle during which Moxley cheated my best friend, and the Young Bucks always deliver even on cursed pay-per-views, but the Casino Battle Royale was a confusing, overlong, botch-plagued mess. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks had a laugh at their own expense on a subsequent edition of Being the Elite. After footage was shown of the dire match itself, a great cut captured the Elite's absolute disgust. Nick Jackson said it was just garbage, while Omega grabbed the remote and said, "Oh, shut this shit off," and then wondered aloud, who the fuck put this shit together? Oh, before they realized, yeah, that was sort of our problem, wasn't it? Number 7, Jim Ross. If you wanted to be facetious about things, you could make the argument that Jim Ross publicly savages the company most Wednesdays. Every time more than 6 men appear in the ring, you can just feel his mood sour. He'll start to question the role of the referee, for example. I don't know how one ref can maintain control of a 10-man tag. Is basically Oklahoma code for the boys are getting their in again. He wasn't nearly so obtuse when burying what is known in shorthand as the Dark Order angle in the wake of the 18th of December 2019 episode of AEW Dynamite. Oh boy. Get your bleeper ready, Mr. Editor. In a poorly received, retconned, and disastrous initiation angle, John Silver and Alex Reynolds joined their ranks as Evil Uno drew blood from a condom in Matt Jackson's throat. The crowd on it, and AEW was genuinely thought to have shit the bed. Dave Meltzer said that the scene reminded him of WCW in all the worst ways, and Jim Ross was even more acerbic. It was the drizzling shits, he said on his Grilling JR podcast. I was embarrassed to see what I saw. It was poorly executed, and hopefully nothing like that will ever occur again. Ouch. Number 6, the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks were at the heart of the Dark Order angle, of course. They lost to SCU in the best Dynamite main event nobody, understandably, will ever remember, but the post-match was awful in both vision and performance. What was already a naff supernatural cult angle in the sports-orientated promotion was executed horribly. One of these goobers was such an amateur that they infamously missed the head of Dustin Rhodes by a good 1.5 feet. The Young Bucks listened to the venomous criticism and then sent sent themselves up on Being the Elite by filming a skit in which they beat up Christopher Daniels but missed the punches by miles. It functioned as self-aware reassurance that they know they buggered it up, but it also served as a major tongue-in-cheek burial of what had already become of the acclaimed alternative. Number 5. Jim Ross again. Ross again will sometimes express quiet disdain for certain stylistic aspects of the AEW product. He's particularly withering when a powerful, stocky wrestler executes an aerial move. Watch closely. Whenever Hangman Page performs his glorious Orihara moonsault, you'll just about be able to hear a dejected sigh as Ross questions why Page doesn't simply throw strikes from a standing position. It can be read as either a well-intentioned personality quirk or a tiresome, counterproductive mood killer. He said this quiet part loud in December 2020, though. Speaking to Conrad Thompson on Grilling JR, he bemoaned a popular spot, which in his defense is far more egregious than Page bringing down the house with an impactful dive, saying, "All you guys go outside, you cluster up like quails, you stand there in a huddle, friends and foes together side by side, so you can catch some leaping idiot going over the top who never wins with this move. It's a spot, folks. It's a trapeze act, and I don't buy into that." Number 4. Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's gimmick is that he's the greatest professional wrestler on the planet, and not only that, he's redefined what greatness actually is. While his importance in the management structure has diminished within AEW since the original creative committee was disbanded across the holiday season of 2020, he's still a founding father of and representative of the company, which makes it all the more striking that he is on record as burying a certain creative choice. Of course, since he's in AEW, this was automatically received as a knock against WWE. He recently took to Twitter to put over his secret intergender match alongside Riho versus Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. It was filmed on the JERICHO cruise in February 2020 and hidden away on Dark. Omega bemoaned other mixed tags with weird must-tag out rules. They suck so bad, Omega remarked. So to which AEW match was he referring? The last mixed tag of note that AEW promoted was Adam Cole and Britt Baker versus Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander, which did adhere to those compromised rules. Perhaps Omega tweeted this to slowly advance his expected return program with Cole, but it's funny and very of the time that he buried AEW, no one noticed. Number 3. MJF. A caveat applies here. What is the extent to which whatever is happening between MJF and Tony Khan is a shoot? Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer appears to be the not very opinion, but Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp is under the belief that there's slightly more to this than Khan and MJF creating a modern spin on the Brian Pillman saga of 1996. Sapp is still operating under the belief that a real-life situation was fictionalized to lend credibility to what is now a work, but also claim that a source of his has taken the opposite tack. They now believe what was a work is now a shoot. Bloody hell. It is fascinating, if nothing else. And if it was a shoot at one point, MJF was indeed publicly and without compunction burying AEW for not paying him at a level commensurate with his drawing power. Pay the man, Tony. Number 2. Thunder Rosa. Recently, Thunder Rosa expressed frustration with her lot in AEW in an underreported story. This news story marked a very suboptimal milestone. It's one thing for a barely used undercard act who's peaked to express unhappiness with their position. It is quite another thing for a champion in the promotion to complain. Rosa is purportedly under the belief that her title match at Double or Nothing was badly undersold on the follow-up Dynamite. Fair point in my opinion, and that this afterthought betrayal is all too consistent with the way in which her women's title reign has been handled thus far. Yep, she's got a point, and it's not an ideal one optically for AEW either. It damages the credibility of the championship and indeed the idea of even winning it if it's considered a valuable achievement by the wrestler holding it. Number 1, Cody Rhodes. Right, first things first, Cody Rhodes hasn't done the thing that wrestlers do. He handled his exit from AEW with class, saying things to the effect of, "It was just time to go." And while this is admirable, there's also boring stuff from the most fascinating player in the game. Where's the drama, the shooting, the sound bites, Cody? When a wrestler leaves a territory, the very least they can do is call a colleague worse than or validate your takes on the booking. Ever the self-deprecating professional, sadly, Cody was more prone to burying the promotion when AEW still contracted his services. To that end, in an interview with Brandon Walker on the Barstool Wrestling podcast, Cody revealed that he regrets almost everything connected with his program with Anthony Ogogo in the spring of 2021. It began brightly, in earnest, you can actually let things play out here fashion. Any inkling that QT Marshall had abused his position vanished when Ogogo was presented as the real top villain of the factory stable. Ogogo cut several great promos and cut a superb, menacing figure as a great heel house. Regrettably, Cody then took this as an opportunity to restore race relations in the States and invited widespread ridicule. Cody buried his own role in building the feud, describing it as tone deaf. You're not wrong there, mate. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. And you can find me on there at Adam Wilborn. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from What Culture, and I'll see you soon.